Hello everyone, and welcome to those who are discovering this series of challenges I'm currently undertaking. Today, I've chosen to answer a very simple question. Can you complete Pokémon Emerald as an ornithologist? For those who aren't aware, I've decided to see if the ultimate game of the 3rd generation is possible to complete with monotype teams. So, it's a great opportunity to don the costume of Toby, the most famous birdkeeper. Before quickly going over the rules, I've set for myself to make this challenge as interesting and challenging as possible for you to watch. I want to clarify that aside from the avatar we'll be playing as, there are no modifications to the game. The goal is to preserve the developer's choices while trying to determine if the flying type is versatile enough to finish the adventure. This is a monotype challenge, so only flying type Pokémon will be allowed throughout the game. Since flying isn't one of the 3 types offered by Professor Birch at the start, we'll choose Torchic because it resembles a bird the most, and as soon as we have access to Pokeballs, we'll make it a priority to catch a Pokémon that can evolve into a flying type. I should also clarify right from the start that using HM slaves that aren't flying type is forbidden. The aim is to evaluate the effectiveness of the type in the game, so every obstacle must be overcome with a Pokémon that the ornithologist we're embodying today would be able to capture. You don't have to catch every flying type Pokémon you encounter, but it's highly recommended to build a team of 6 whenever possible. The second rule, to spice up the challenge and make it more realistic, is that using non-held items during battles is prohibited. Spamming full restores on every trainer isn't fun and isn't very interesting strategically. After this long introduction, you've seen that the Pokémon I chose to start this run is Beautifully. However, the problem is that at this stage of the game, we can only catch Wurmples, and with the resources available in the adventure, it's impossible to know if this Pokémon will evolve into Cascoon or Silcoon. To remind you, these Cocoon Pokémon evolve into Dustox and Beautifully, respectively. Dustox isn't a flying type, so we need a Silcoon. The first Wurmple we try to catch escapes from all of our Pokeballs. We have to go back to the shop to buy more. Always a great way to start an adventure with a failure. We eventually managed to catch the slimy little creature, so we'll start carefully grinding XP until level 7 in the early game's tall grass to evolve the Pokémon, hoping for a Silcoon. After the long grind to level 7, we cross our fingers and it's a Cascoon, so back to the tall grass to catch another Wurmple. By the way, contrary to popular belief, Wurmple's evolution isn't determined by the day-night cycle, but by a personal internal value. Besides, the day-night cycle was removed in the 3rd generation. The new XP grind reaches its end, and Wurmple evolves into another Cascoon. Once again, we head back to the tall grass to catch, hopefully, our last Wurmple and escape this cursed area. After some time, we finally succeed and are rewarded with a Silcoon. However, it's still not a flying type, so we'll have to grind 3 more levels before getting a flying type, but we can at least release the Pokemon we caught earlier. By the way, the game doesn't allow you to release the last Pokemon in your box. I guess it's to prevent soft locking the game. Finally, our Wurmple metamorphoses, and we have a pretty Beautifully to start our adventure. At level 10, it's easy to take down the nearby trainers, and before long, we reach our father's gym to help Wally catch a Pokemon. On Route 104, we come across a Wingull, probably a relative of Pico, Mr. Briny's Pokemon. We catch it, giving us 2 flying types, and since we don't have much money, we decide to challenge Lass Haley, because her prize money is fairly high. We finally arrive in Rustboro City, and before tackling the gym, there's a small patch of grass at the edge of the city, where we can encounter Tylo. A well-aimed Pokeball does the trick, so we decide to test our team against the gym leader, Roxanne. Unfortunately, the gym's type is Rock, a weakness for flying types, so in one hit, Beautifully is down, but Wingull is strong enough to take down her Geodude, leveling up quickly, and sending her second Rock-type Pokemon back into his Pokeball. Nosepass is Roxanne's signature Pokemon, and it's a tough opponent for our team right now, as it defeats both of our remaining flying types. The upside is that thanks to the double weakness that Geodudes have to Beautifully's Absorb and Wingull's Water Gun, we can level up quickly. We're able to rematch Roxanne as soon as possible, and if Beautifully doesn't get a hit in, Wingull can sweep the early part of the battle. Finally, Nosepass arrives, but after 2 Water Guns from Wingull, it survives. Its Rock Tomb reduces our speed, allowing it to outspeed and finish us off, but our last untrained Tailo is able to finish the fight in 1 hit. With this victory, it gains 3 levels, and more importantly, we earn our first badge, ensuring we can continue our adventure, starting by helping the Devon Corporation. We easily defeat the Team Aqua Grunt and head to Mr. Brenny's boat, not without encountering May, whom we battle. Wingull handles her Torkoal and then finishes off her Mudkip. Before we know it, we're in Dewford Town, and it's time to catch a 4th Pokemon for our team, and it's a big one. On the island, a fisherman gives us the Old Rod, an item that only allows us to catch Magikarp, but this Pokemon's evolution, Gyarados, is a flying type. So we embark on a long exploration of Granite Cave without Flash, but we also take the opportunity to deliver the letter to Steven, who rewards us with the TM Steelwing. After a while, our orange fish evolves, and we now have the fearsome Gyarados ready for battle. We don't hesitate to use it directly against Brawly, and even its tackle attack hits hard against Machop, who is supposed to be resistant. With a critical hit, we take down the first fighting-type Pokemon, then welcome Meditite. Bite is neutral against this psychic type, and in 2 hits, the pre-evolution of Medicum is out of the fight. Finally, Makuhita enters, and it lands a critical hit. It takes down our aquatic serpent, so we bring out Tylo to try and gain some experience, but without success. In the end, it's up to Beautifully to finish the battle with its Gust attack. Brawly concedes defeat, and we must must admit, we had a type advantage against the gym. We're now off to Slateport. Once again, thanks to Mr. Brinny, Team Aqua has caused trouble again, but Gyarados is almost a cheat code at this stage of the game, sweeping through the grunts. Captain Stern can thank us for this quick stop at his port. It's time to face May, north of the city, under the nursery, and even with basic attacks, Gyarados manages to defeat her first Pokemon. Then she sends out her Fire-type Pokemon, who immediately retreats to its Pokeball. Marshtomb is the final Pokemon, and he doesn't appreciate Gyarados' bite, but if this part of the adventure felt like a joke for our team, things are about to get much less fun. No, it's not Wally who will pose a problem for our team, but rather the building where he hangs out, the electric gym. It turns out to be particularly tough for our team. We have two Pokemon that are quadruple weak to Watson's Pokemon, the gym leader, and beautifully isn't good enough to compete against Watson's first Pokemon. Gyarados has finally learned Dragon Rage, but the Pokemon in the gym often have more than 40 HP, so it's forced to take hits, and in this battle, Electrike finishes us off. Taylor can delay the inevitable against Manectric, who is much faster than our entire team. It's a losing battle, as many of our Pokemon are underleveled, so we'll keep trying our luck with Gyarados countless times until it reaches the same level as the red Gyarados from the Lake of Rage. It starts the battle against Watson's Voltorb, who timidly attacks, and by a stroke of luck, Gyarados lands a critical hit on the Pokeball, taking it out before facing Electrike, who goes down in 2 hits. Against Manectrix, we'll sacrifice Tailo, who can land some small scratch damage on Watson's signature Pokemon. It retaliates with Shockwave, and beautifully comes out next, not to attack, but to paralyze the Pokemon. And before getting fried, it can also chip away at the opponent. Wingull comes in with Supersonic, still hoping to weaken Watson's ace. Of course, after some time, the Seagull falls, and Gyarados is called back to finish the job. Only Magneton remains, and we still have 100 HP left, so we survive Shockwave, and with one last Dragon Rage, we win the Dynamo badge. That was a tough gym battle, one we won't forget anytime soon. Thanks to our victory, we can use the HM Rock Smash, and Gyarados will be incredibly useful for this adventure. Being a powerhouse, it can learn this HM and open the way to the volcano. On the way to Falabor Town, we stumble upon an Skarmory, which perfectly fits the profile we're looking for in our team. It's captured, and a few steps later, Tailo evolves into Swellow. The team is already taking shape, and we can test it out on some Fire-type Pokemon, starting with those from Team Magma. Gyarados is still capable of steamrolling through the game. We can then head straight to Laverdish Town. The battle against Flannery, the Fear-type gym leader, goes smoothly since we defeated her on the first try. The Skarmory we've been training is quickly knocked out, but with 2 water types on the team, it's easy to take care of the Pokemon in the 4th gym battle of this series. Along the way, Wingull reaches its final form, but there's a bit of a mix-up. We can rush towards Norman, our father, and his normal-type Pokemon. The first duel is against Spinda, who becomes dizzy under the spotlight, but the opponent doesn't use any potions. No worries, we send in Skarmory, and with 3 wing attacks, it can take down the bunny it usually chases near Falabor Town. However, against Vigoroth, it's a different story, and we must call in Gyarados to try and end the fight. Fortunately, it opens with 80 HP, so Dragon Rage does the job, while Lanoon isn't strong enough to weaken us, and Gyarados falls against Slaking. Pelipper is called in as backup, and since it knows Protect, it can shield itself every turn Slaking loafs around, allowing our Pokemon to fully counter the beast. After 20 turns, we're able to land the final blow on Norman's last Pokemon, who happily gives us our badge. Now we can finally use Surf. The HM we received from Wally's parents. We'll teach it to Pelipper, and here's a little tip. Behind the house in Petalburg City, there's a rare candy waiting for you. It's a gift. The eastern part of Hun is now accessible, and after saving the Weather Institute, May surprises us, first with Alombra, a perfect opportunity to train our Skarmory, before calling Gyarados to finish the job. The adventure continues, and after a quick stop at Route 116, we head to Metpire, and finally we reach Met Chimney, where Team Magma has returned. Gyarados will now take over to continue the journey, allowing us to enter their hideout to confront Maxie, who intends to awaken Groudon. Since he fails, he challenges us with his Mightyena, which can give us a hard time, as it first knocks out Beautifully, who hasn't progressed much since the 3rd badge, and Skarmory, despite putting up a decent fight, with a 13 level disadvantage. In the end, it's our 2 Flying and Water-type Pokemon, who logically clear the path against the Team Magma leader. But the damage is done, and in the meantime, Team Aqua is also causing a lot of trouble, notably by stealing the submarine, the property of Captain Stern. Without hesitation, we head to Aqua Hideout, searching for the Master Ball, but we arrive too late, and the submarine sets off right before our astonished eyes. To navigate the seas of Hun, we have to claim the title of Flying-type Master, especially since the 6th gym, which we skipped in Fortree City, could be of the same type as us. The battle begins against Winona, and we use Swellow, who after a tough fight, finishes off her normal Flying-type Pokemon. As a pairing song was in play, we switched to Skarmory to face Tropius. Since he has the type advantage, he can take down the Flying Diplodocus to welcome Pelipper. Pelipper might attack our special defense, so we call back Swellow, who has learned Aerial Ace, and when Pelipper doesn't protect itself, it can be dealt with. Then comes Winona's Skarmory, who could finish us off, since it has the type advantage, but no worries, we still have flying types like Gyarados, who can handle the Steel-type Pokemon. The final showdown is against Altoria, and our HM Slave can handle it well, with the moves it has learned, especially since Rock Smash lowers its defense, increasing the power of its strength attack. There we go, Moss Deep City, where Steven Stone's city lives, is waiting for us, and we set off for the island, where the 7th gym awaits us, run by Tate and Liza. It's a double battle, with them starting with Claydol and Zatu, while we start with Gyarados and Skarmory. We use Bite with Gyarados since it has a high special stat, and Skarmory also targets Xatu to prevent it from attacking directly. The gym leaders heal it, but we notice that Claydol can't touch our Pokémon since it only has Earthquake to deal damage. After a while, the Psychic Bird is defeated, and the rocks come into play. Fortunately, we have a Steel-type Pokémon to deal with them. In a few turns, the Moon has asked help to the Sun, but it has the same weakness, and Skarmory does a monumental job while Gyarados doesn't even bother using Hydro Pump in this battle. A rich person problem, they say, so the twins stand no chance, and we win the battle. We receive the Mind Badge as part of our adventure. Team Magma is waiting for us for their traditional invasion of the Space Center, which we breeze through without any issues. Now, we can take care of Team Aqua, teaching dive to our giant shrimp to explore the ocean depths. Kyogre's lair isn't hard to find, since the submarine is parked on the roadside with its lights flashing. So, we meet Archie, who has simply chosen the wrong orb. Why does he take the red orb for the blue Pokémon and the blue orb for the red Pokémon? It's absolutely incomprehensible, but the real problem is that it causes a major ecological disaster, and the one to fix it is us. We thank Wallace for the advice and head to the Sky Pillar to awaken another sleeping Pokémon. It seems like a recurring theme in Pokémon games since Generation 1 with Snorlax. Anyway, the first Pokémon ever banned from competitive battles resolves the conflict by getting angry, proving that sometimes a little outrage can make a difference, and Hun's impending disaster is averted. Afterward, we head to the Safari Zone to catch a Natu to complete our team permanently. But we won't continue the adventure right away, since our little trip to the Sky Pillar didn't go unnoticed. Rayquaza is waiting for us, and since we have to snag a Master Ball, we've just added a new level 70 Pokémon to our team, and a new HM Slave. This HM Slave is a real wrecking ball in the Gym of Juan, because if Gyarados can handle the first 3 Pokémon of the Gym Leader, with 2 Outrage, the battle is done. There we go, we have 8 badges, and the chance to head to the Pokémon League. Gyarados will use its 4th move slot to Waterfall, unfortunately still a special attack in these generations, and Victory Road awaits us with the traditional battle against Wally. Altaria is his first Pokémon, while our HM Slave will start for us. After a few attacks, Wally realizes he has a Magneton, and he sends it out to simply one-shot our water and flying Pokémon. We didn't need much else to finish the battle as quickly as possible, so we call on Rayquaza's Wrath, who in one hit gets rid of the 3 magnetic balls, then sweeps away the Dragon Flying-type Pokémon, obliterates the Delcatty, and since Gardevoir isn't immune to Dragon-type attacks in these generations, it's taken down too. Finally, the Roselia can't laugh at flying types, and we've exploited one of the biggest loopholes in the game, which is Pokémon Emerald's decision to leave Rayquaza at level 70 within reach of the player just before the League. We approached the League a bit off-center because we completely forgot to buy items before trying our luck in this championship, and while in the beginning, Gyarados didn't necessarily have the means to handle the first trainer alone. Once he fell, the Pokémon that resolved the conflict between Kyogre and Groudon could perform the same attack on 3 of the opponent's Pokémon. Eventually, since it's confused, we sent out beautifully against Crawdont, who wouldn't lose HP because it can recover from the opposing beast. We can already enter the second room and face Phoebe, famous for her ghost-type Pokémon. We start with Skarmory, and when Dusclops uses Curse, we switch to Altaria to minimize HP loss. A healing follows on the ghost-type Pokémon, but Altaria gets the job done, and when the opponent's Pokémon doesn't protect itself, it's KO'd. As for Banette, it's a bit more challenging, so we won't take too many risks, and we'll activate Rayquaza's Outrage, which I should have renamed Game Shark. Here, the Master of the Skies can take care of the Dark-type Pokémon. The next battle, against Glacia, is more complicated since Ice-type moves are super effective against many of our Pokémon, including our brave Rayquaza, as we can see here. Walrein takes out Skarmory, and our Pokémon are not healed from the previous battle. Fortunately, Outrage is really our friend, and if I counted correctly, that makes 10 Pokémon KO'd by this move before Walrein. Fortunately, we can tank an Ice Beam from Glalie, allowing us to finish it off in the second round, and go on to face the region's Dragon Master, Drake. He starts with Shelgon as his first Pokémon, while we lead with a freshly healed Gyarados. No surprises here, as the opposing Pokémon knows a Rock-type move, making the battle tough, and we lose our first Pokémon. But if you didn't miss the last 3 matches, you'll agree that we have a way to crush our opponent's hopes of victory, who possesses a super effective attack, and there you go. 16 Pokémon have been sent back to the Pokémon Center. On the other hand, the champion in this generation has Water-type Pokémon, which is supposedly not very effective against our Rayquaza's Dragon-type, but of course their move pool is varied, so we know a plethora of Ice-type moves await us. No worries, we start the battle with our Green Snake, and Wailord is tanky enough to withstand one of our attacks, but that's not the case for the next Pokémon Tentacruel. There's come Milotic and will be tanky enough and to get hit with a first Ice Beam. We strike back with Fly, which is a stab move just as interesting, to let room to Gyarados, who can't really touch us. Alright, we'll still use Natu to scout its move pool, and once it's KO'd, we'll lower the opposing Pokémon's attack with our own Gyarados, as we still fear its Hyper Beam could cause problems. Once that trick is in place, Rayquaza can return to the field with a normal type move and finish off the opposing Pokémon. The rain is gone, so Ludicolo no longer outspeeds us, allowing us to one-shot both it and Whiscash. And that's it, we've won the run, which had a rather decreasing difficulty curve. While we struggled at first to find a reliable flying-type Pokémon, unnecessarily since there were also Wingulls in the tall grass above Rustboro, we can say that the challenge was particularly sped up, and the peak difficulty, I'd say, was either the first gym leader, who was close, or the third, where our Pokémon were at least neutral to electric-type moves. But now, we can answer the question. Yes, you can finish Pokémon Emerald with a team composed entirely of Flying-type Pokémon, thanks in large part to the box art Pokémon, and I hope you enjoyed this video with this little return to a monotype challenge. The birds did their job today, so feel free to leave a like and a comment below the video. I'd greatly appreciate it. By the way, a huge majority of you aren't subscribed to my channel, even though it's the best way to support its growth and ensure you don't miss any videos. See you soon for new adventures. Au revoir.